Tony Perez shouldn't let an
Here comes Mercer to the delight of the crowd. Mercer with two good right hands. And now Mercer on Morrison in the corner.
He had never lost. Not in the gyms of Arkansas as a teenager, not in the Golden Gloves, not across 28 professional fights with cities and names blurring together. Tommy Morrison had come this far on the simple arithmetic of being harder to hurt than the man across from him. Tonight, that arithmetic was about to change.
In the dressing room, all right? Give me a good, clean fight, and I will not bother neither one of you. Two things you must remember. Obey my commands, and most important, protect yourself at all times. Shake hands, and good luck to the both of you.
By October 1991, Tommy Morrison was the most famous young heavyweight on the planet, and not only because of what he did in the ring. A year before this fight, he'd been in cinemas opposite Sylvester Stallone, playing a hungry kid who throws it all away chasing the title. The movie was called Rocky V. The character was Tommy the Machine Gun. The casting was almost too on the nose. Morrison was 22 years old and 28-0. He'd grown up in the small towns of Arkansas and Oklahoma, forging fake ID papers as a teenager to enter tough man competitions in the Midwest. He claimed to be John Wayne's grandnephew, picked up the nickname The Duke, and channeled every bit of that mythologized American toughness into a left hook that had stopped men cold in the first round 15 times or more. Quality names were on his record now: James Tillis, Pinklin Thomas, former contenders both, and the boxing world had started asking the question that only comes around once for a fighter. How far can this kid actually go? The man standing across the ring had a different kind of resume. Ray Mercer hadn't grown up dreaming about boxing. He'd taken it up in his 20s as a U.S. Army sergeant. He turned professional in early 1989, won 17 fights, and stopped Francesco Damiani in 9 rounds earlier that year to take the WBO heavyweight title, coming back from behind on all 3 scorecards to do it, with a single left hook that folded the Italian like paper. 30 years old now, and described in some circles as too reliant on power. There was one more thread connecting these two men, and neither one had forgotten it. 3 years earlier, at the 1988 U.S. Olympic trials in Concord, California, a 19-year-old Morrison had climbed in the ring with Mercer and lost a split decision. It was a fight that sent Mercer to Korea and sent Morrison home. Now, here they were again, in a convention hall on the Atlantic City boardwalk, $30,000 separating their purses, a world title belt on the line, and an undefeated record about to disappear.
Says he wants to crouch, give Mercer angles. Mercer immediately says that didn't hurt. With the angles and the crouching. Stick and run for Morrison.
A little anxious.
Morrison, the more active boxer, bows down.
Well, Tony Perez shouldn't let an identity.
From the first bell, Morrison looked like the best version of everything the hype had promised. He was quick, composed, moving Mercer backwards and finding range with combinations that landed clean and often. Midway through the round, a sizzling uppercut followed by a left hook stood Mercer up and sent him to the clinch. Morrison's body work was consistent, mixing downstairs and up, never letting the champion settle. Round 2 looked much like the first. 1 minute in, a Morrison combination hurt Mercer enough to change his footwork, and by the end of the round, the champion's lower lip was cut and bleeding. All 3 judges gave Morrison both rounds, and most of the writers at ringside were beginning to wonder if they'd underestimated the challenger. The third was more of the same, until the very end of it. Morrison was in almost total control, Mercer retreating, absorbing shots, looking slower than advertised. Then, with the bell about to sound, Mercer caught Morrison with a chopping right hand flush on the chin. Morrison felt it. He walked back to his corner having won 3 rounds in a row, but Mercer had just posted him a reminder that the fight wasn't over. Tommy Morrison had never been past round 6 as a professional. Every fight before this one had been finished early, opponents unable to survive long enough to find out what happened when Morrison got tired. Now, in the 4th round against the WBO heavyweight champion, the answer was becoming clear. His mouth was open, his punches were landing shorter, or not at all. Where the first 3 rounds had been about Morrison setting the tempo, round 4 was about Mercer taking it away. Hard rights to the jaw, hooks to the body. The champion was finally asserting himself, and Morrison looked confused by it, over-anxious, pressing forward but not finding anything. Mercer won the round clearly.
It means you have to change your levels. Relax, recover.
Keep it slow.
You got to change your levels. You got to follow up with your punches. Right? What you're trying to do is you're letting him throw first, and then you're covering while he's in too tight. You can't throw him.
In Morrison's corner, trainer Tommy Vergitz leaned in close. "You're pressing," he said. "Relax. You're too tight." It was good advice. The problem was, there wasn't enough time left to use it. Vergitz was right about the pressing. Morrison knew it too. He'd spent 3 rounds as the better fighter and watched it slip away in 1. Now, the 5th bell was about to sound, and somewhere in that corner, the certainty that had carried him through 28 undefeated fights had developed a crack. Mercer came out for round 5 moving, circling, making Morrison work to close distance. The challenger chased him toward a corner, trying to replicate the pressure of the early rounds. Then, Mercer set his feet and threw the counter right. It caught Morrison square. Morrison staggered, and before he could find his legs, he was already against the ropes. Mercer moved in without hesitation. What came next was 15 punches, systematic and unsparing. Rights and lefts, head and body. Morrison taking every one of them, his legs gone, his hands unable to answer.
Nervousness. Mercer with 2 good right hands. And now Mercer on Morrison in the corner. And Mercer's all over him. And Morrison in trouble. And Morrison goes down for the first time in his career. And that is it.
The referee finally stopped it at 28 seconds of round 5. Tommy Morrison went down face first on the canvas, and the 0 in his record went with him. He would come back. 8 wins in a row, the WBO title over George Foreman in 1993. A run that proved this night wasn't the end of him, but it was the end of something. The kid from Rocky V, the unbeatable Duke, the man who'd never been hurt. That version of Tommy Morrison didn't walk out of Atlantic City. He was 22 years old. He had a long road still ahead of him. Most of it would be harder than this.